Anyway, JRE, Joe Rogan Experience, had Tim Dillon, and also there's a Jordan Peterson video that we could watch, and also Andrew Tate on fucking Alex Jones. But I feel like I'm all tated out.
An issue in Pennsylvania.
I want to look at some of our favorite.
Ben.
I want to see some of our top cheese. Okay.
The real campaign issue in Pennsylvania, according to everybody, is Dr. Mehmet Oz is an elitist. He's an elitist. And we know that if you earn money in the United
States... This motherfucker literally made an entire video about me buying a house, by the way. I just want to point out that this motherfucker was like, Hasanabi. He bought a whole house. Blah, blah, blah.
He bought a house. We know what they do in houses.
Yeah.
States, this makes you unqualified for office. So, sure, the original founders of the country tended to be overwhelmingly wealthy men because, again, the idea here is that if you don't want people in politics who are demagogues, then it's good for them to have an outside source of income. You want to cut down on corruption? It's good.
Dude, he's literally saying...
That's just not like...
No, he's just saying it's good when our guys are rich.
Yeah, like and it's also, it's like...
It's corruption when the other side is rich, but when our guys are rich, that means they're devoid of corruption. That's awesome.
Good for people to be independently wealthy before they are in office. It's not a bad thing. It gives you the ability to say things that are actually on your mind because you have less to lose. This is why, biblically speaking, most of the prophets were actually kind of wealthy. Because if you're wealthy, you don't have much.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ had a 401k. 2 houses. Okay?
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
King David, yes, he stole Bathsheba from somebody's wife. But a pimp. Biblically speaking. Impeccable.
Oh, that's
Andrew
awesome.
Tate, is he wrong?
Andrew, yeah. Yeah, Jesus was known for being wealthy. Exactly. That's awesome.
To lose. In any case, Dr. Oz has now come under severe fire. Not a biblical prophet, but a candidate for Pennsylvania.
How many videos do you think Ben Shapiro, over under, or how many videos Ben Shapiro made about Bernie Sanders' houses?
Oh, my God. I would probably go with like 5.
He had to have made... Okay, let's take a look.
Absolutely. 100%.
YouTube.com. Okay, let's see. Let me... On Ben Shapiro, Bernie Sanders houses. Ben Shapiro, drive your Bernie Sanders bumper sticker Mercedes, the cars for kids.
Yeah, that works.
That's a good one. Okay. You won't believe what is Ben Shapiro's backyard. Historic Hollywood tour. Wait, what the fuck is this? Okay, that's kind of cool. I wonder if we could like get to Daily Wire, because like he talks about Bernie a lot. He always brings him up. I don't know if he's like directly going to bring him up.
I mean, the problem is that if you show the photos of that house, you lose the argument. You have like
but he always like I have heard him bring it up. Like I've heard him bring it up, like be like, oh yeah, it's just
listen, yellowing wallpaper in a vacation home,
just
it's a sign of wealth.
He will bring that up. He'll bring up like, you know, they love talking about like AOC is rich now, like because she's a politician. Like she made money off of being a politician. Like she was originally
a waitress.
Yeah,
now
she's a waitress. Yeah. So he was talking about Trump getting locked up yet. He probably brings it up as an aside, unrelated and talking points. Yeah. Go to his channel and search there. No, I mean, we know what his take is on fucking leftists having houses. Okay, we know because we know.
Did somebody get a house?
Yeah, because a leftist did buy a house. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Ben Shapiro. Independently wealthy people are actually good politicians. Also, Ben Shapiro. Hypocrisy. Socialist streamer buys a $2.7 million house. Look at this. You know what I mean? Like, wait, did he put me in this tier list? What the fuck? Why am I coming up on the SEO?
Pennsylvania. Why? Well, because he was asked about the number of houses that he owns, and he was off. So here was Dr. Oz. But
I mean, he wasn't just like off. It was like he said, was it like he owns?
He said
10?
2, but he owns 10.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, let's watch the ranking the left one and see if you're S tier. I doubt it.
Nah.
Yeah, he was off by 8 houses. Also, like he is incredibly out of touch. Like Dr. Oz is so out of touch.
I can't believe that he somehow like won Trump over to get the the nod.
No, it literally is because Trump was like, I'm a TV guy.
He's a TV guy. He understands it.
He gets it. He could do it.
Listen, he said that Barons, can. He said that my kids, they're the way they are. It's not my sperm. It's the mother.
Here's Ben's tweet about Bernie having 3 homes. You own 3 houses.
You own 3 houses.
Oh, fucking wreck, dude. 37,000
Also, I like
likes.
that. How many yachts do billionaires like? It's okay.
Like Bernie Sanders' log cabin.
Yeah, his like
his wife's like family's log cabin that was given to him.
And their 2015 Ford Fiesta weighed against like Ron Burkle's like 3 yachts.
That's awesome.
Great.
Sorry, you weren't on Ben's list. Yeah, that's a bummer. What are you gonna do? In Shabibo's rankings, Bill Maher was the only S tier lefty. Of course,
Bill Maher is the only S tier.
That says
that
everything
rocks.
you need to know.
That's so good.
That says everything you need to know about that fucking tier list. Okay,
Oh my
it's
God.
just dog shit.
Yeah, that tier list is. I guess Bill Maher is number 1.
Anywhere, Bill Maher is number 1 only at the tier list of like people who go to sex parties. Okay, that's it. There's nothing else. This is incredibly funny dating advice. If you know she's Ben Shapiro's sister, Abigail Shabibo, my favorite, my queen. Let's see what she had to say.
Classically Abby.
One thing that I learned early on in my dating career was I didn't want to date a guy. I didn't want to end up with a guy who felt like he had to win every argument. There are some guys who really just think that they need to be the smartest one in the room all the time, and you can never get into just a discussion. Everything turns into a debate.
Did she date Ben Shapiro? What the fuck?
So I knew very quickly that I never wanted to end up with a guy in my dating career.
She's like, yeah, I grew up with one, and I knew exactly what I didn't want from a man.
For one thing, isn't she married to a lawyer?
Oh, is she? I mean, all of these guys,
like just
all
a
of
professional
these, dude,
arguer.
all professional conservative women end up dating in the closet like lawyers or think tank guys that have like a $700,000 a year job writing for.
I don't know, dude. I saw
writing
those,
for a newspaper that no one reads.
I saw those wedding photos. I don't think that there's anything closeted about that man.
Wait, let's see who Abigail Shapiro's husband is. I was just making this up.
I mean, he's just like a bearded Jewish lawyer guy who works for some right-wing group, so it's fine to make fun of him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? It's just this does not suit the bill of what I was talking about. What I was referencing was Meghan McCain and Meghan McCain's husband.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mr. Ben Dominic is a different story. He's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. But this guy, no, he's not. He is not queer coded. Okay, not at all. He's just a happy man. I mean, I'd be smiling like that too. Okay. Where is wait, hold on. Yeah, Ben Dominic.
Ben Dominic.
Is that how you write it?
Yeah, that's how it. Whoa, wait, whoa, that photo. Whoa, that is.
Yeah.
Oh, Marvel. Yes.
He's a looker. That one,
Well, we got to do this, and then also you got to pull up the tweet about her.
What was it? What was it? Ben
He said "yikes" or something about her. Ben Dominic tweet. Meghan McCain just is. This is how, like, I mean.
Meghan McCain's husband slams Twitter for waiting hours to remove tweet threatening wife.
Busted past tweet. That's it. That one, I'm sure, is it.
Oh, I remember this. That was funny. Yeah.
Do not want. That's it.
No, I don't want to give you my location, WIBC. Do not want. Retweet at Laura Donovan UA. How to score a date with sexy bitch author Meghan McCain. That's so funny. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ben Domino.
Yeah. He looks like the after photo version of Alex Jones. Oh, you mean so the same as the before photo of Alex Jones? I love these guys. They're always so funny. Yeah, Alex had a take on that with respect to
Lowen.
Yeah. How do you fucking spell his name?
L-O-W-E. L-O-W-E. You're adding an E. E-N-A-N-A. Oh wait, so E-N, sorry.
Bro, it's impossible to spell.
L-O-W-E-N-A-F-F-C-H.
Dude, it is literally impossible to fucking
fine.
type.
What? It's low N. Yeah, there it is.
It's impossible. It's
Whatever,
impossible to type his fucking username.
It is impossible to type his name.
Well, for good reason. It's good that it's impossible to type his username because sometimes he says some shit that I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know this man. What did he say? He was like, what the fuck did he say? Where is it? Can I find?
Just go to. I'm sure it's on his Twitter. Just
yeah.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
I don't think this is it. No. This isn't it.
No, that's really.
Sorry, everyone. I got puss everywhere at the grocery store before I knew what it was. No. That's not what I'm talking about. No, when he was talking about like all these conservative women like making fun. It's like all these conservative women making fun of monkeypox, like as though their husbands don't. I don't know what the fuck it was. Anyway, it was a good take. It was. He might have deleted it. He might have deleted it. It was fun. Okay, yeah, Jeff Rogan. The Dark Brandon meme is beyond dead. Okay, we know. I don't care. I don't want to. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Okay.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
What we have to realize is that we're Americans. You know, we're deeply selfish monsters that have been bred to destroy all life on Earth. We have to not lose sight of that message. We're here to fuck things up for everyone else, not each other. And that's what we had in the 80s and the 90s. We had a commitment to apathy while our leaders ran around pillaging the earth. And we made great movies and great art, and it was fine.
All right.
Yes, people got killed.
You man the helm for a second.
People always get killed.
I gotta make a phone call.
But now we're at war with each other. We should just be enjoying the spoils of the end of the empire. Truly. You should be enjoying it. So many people got killed, murdered, tortured, maimed for us to have all the nice things we have. Do you know how insane it is to not enjoy it? You know how crazy it is to not enjoy a McMansion, a flat screen TV, a McFlurry? You know how much blood is in the street for those things? And people act like they don't even matter. And they're fighting about all this bullshit. It's crazy. Anyway, that's the truth.
Your
That's the
grandpa,
real truth. Nobody wants to hear it. But that is the truth.
Mud.
We have a lot of these things are
McMansion.
nice, but some of them are ill-gotten gains. Fine, you know. Not everybody picking tomatoes is happy about it. But have you ever had a nice Jersey thick beef steak tomato? It's good. Imagine having one and then fighting with someone about something. It's stupid. If there's a hell world going,
See, doesn't make
and
any
if there's
sense.
not, we get reincarnated when we're Beatles or something. But just enjoy it, and nobody wants to enjoy it, and that's what makes me upset. Is that we used to have a country built on enjoyment, built on fat, stupid people enjoying the work of a small group of demons, and now we can't even enjoy it. Can't even have fun.
That would be the only way to get us out of this.
That's right.
If we ever realize that the problems that we have with issues are far smaller than the problems the issues that we agree on. Like everybody agrees we have to have less crime. Everybody agrees that we have to have more education.
We have to have
everybody
less crime.
agrees that we have to have safer
we all agree
streets
on
and
it. And what's
safer
more
cities.
is that
Everybody
the
agrees
crime
on that.
doesn't come from
and
anywhere.
the things
It's
that we
the thing
disagree
that we can
on,
turn down.
Well, people disagree on like how to make those things a reality, though.
Yeah.
How do you have less crime? Is it by letting
it's also
people out of jail?
Us being
Is it-
divided helps. It helps people who want to just continually operate in the system as it's constructed. And whether that is the system of perpetual war or the system of the banking sector, the dominance of the financial sector, or the system is tech companies set up to have these political relationships, how they're presently constituted, people who are thriving in this system and using it to their ends do not want it changed. And people hating each other helps them.
It definitely does. Do you think that that's just human nature
Yes.
and you're just doing it while this is happening, or do you think it's orchestrated? This is the question, right? Is the dissent and is some of it? We know it's manipulated by other countries.
Yes.
We know that China does it. We know that they have these huge Russian organizations that in their troll farms.
Yeah.
You know, we know that that's going on. The idea that we wouldn't do that to ourselves if we were trying to get people riled up about each
To
other.
an extent, it's probably an inherent flaw in democracy, but I'm glad I lived in one, and I'm glad I lived in the time I did. But I do think, you know, a democracy kind of descends probably into an oligarchy eventually. The vast majority of the citizens go, I don't want the responsibility of citizenship. So a few really highly motivated psychopaths go, we'll handle it. We'll take it from here. And then those people are fighting over their own interests constantly.
Do you think it should be illegal to pretend to represent a human being when you're a corporation that is promoting your own needs? So do you think that like a corporation
these words just don't even
hires,
like it's like
whether it's a foreign
word
corporation, let's say it's foreign,
not
so it's not
sentences.
connected to us.
It's like
that
those games when you're like
hires
teaching
a
kindergartners
company
and every kid has to say a different word and
propagandize
together it tells
about
a story.
a
That's this
specific
conversation.
political issue that's going to be a hot button target. And
It's like
they
a
do
Siri
it
talking
as
to
a
a fucking
bunch of people
Android
that
AI or
attack
whatever.
people.
Yes.
And go after people with dissenting opinions and quote tweet them and attack them, and you find out it's not even a real person.
Right.
That should be illegal.
That should be
seems to
this
me
thing
like
that
if
does
we're
not
allowing
matter.
that in this
Objectively
country-
does not
But
matter.
we'll
and that does not
continue
hurt
to allow
either of the people
anyone
talking.
with
It
enough
should it
money.
be illegal?
But don't you think
Yeah.
that
Chat,
that
what do you
thing
think?
right
Do you think
there,
it should
just
be
that,
illegal?
That's insidious. Like
Yes.
pretending you're a person for a specific propaganda and having it like 1,000 accounts and
Yeah.
you're running it through computers and you've got people that
Yeah.
are responding to things. You got
Yeah.
people that are just retweeting things and posting things, and it's all just
It's
propaganda.
insane that the Congress, the Congress members who went and started trading stocks based on the knowledge of how bad coronavirus was still have jobs, right? All of this is kind of insane. We're just at peak insanity here. And there's, you know, I mean,
Are we at the peak?
I don't know if we're at the peak, but it's
I don't think that these guys know how to speak sentences. Like I don't think the words connect. I think that they just have like a word association game. Because they're not saying any ideas that I can tell. Like they're just like reassociating between a few different things that they dislike. I guess the bot farm thing is interesting because gives a shit about that in 2022. I don't know that we live in some manipulated. Like it sounds like now they like the Mueller report or something. I don't get it. I've been stoned before, but this is worse than any conversation I've had.
we're close to it. Like I do believe with the way things are going, and you're looking at some really crazy trends, and I don't know when they come to a conclusion, and if they do.
I'm glad that we know that he doesn't know when they'll come to a conclusion. Knowing that Tim Dillon is not clairvoyant actually thought off my mind.
Without something, you know, a war or some violent or whatever. But like it is just, you know, we're living in a time now where we all know everything's fucked, but we're mostly powerless to change it. And that's when societies start to decay past a point, and everybody just kind of sits back and
Society doesn't like decay organically or whatever. Like people don't talk about decline in America because like people watch too much TV. They talk about decline in America because we make less stuff less well relative to other countries and relative to the challenges that we face. And so like the way they're talking about decay is just that like it's more uncomfortable for them to exist in society. That's it. That's their idea of the future.
watches it like a show, and it just descends into eventually something that becomes more and more unmanageable. And then either a strongman dictator type comes in, or there's some massive war that resets things, or there's some natural disaster. But it feels like we're kind of at that point, you know? That's why I'm glad we lived in the era that we lived. And we really should.
I mean, he's not, yeah, I agree that we're at a turning point, and evidently he's really happy that he got to be a sausage in the casing for the last 20 years. Hi, man.
You don't like Tim Dillon?
I can't take this conversation. It's like watching like two AI, like phone AIs talk to one another.
What's he saying? Is he talking? Is he advocating for rampant consumerism? Because I'm on board. I love that shit.
Well, I mean, he's doing the thing where it's just, he's like, you know, everything's really bad, everything's really dumb, and we can't even, it's like, as if these things all kind of like exist in isolation. And it's like, well, you know that we don't make the good movies anymore because like, you know, it's connected to the part of the thing about how we don't, you know, make things anymore, period. And that those were choices meant to enrich people. And, you know, it's not just that, it's like, wow, things suck now. And I'm so upset about it. And then Joe Rogan asking, well, do you think maybe it should be illegal for corporations to pretend to be people online? And then he's like, well, you know, China does it, and I mean, Russia does it, and we don't do it. It's like literally two AIs.
I like that.
Should just
Let's
be
see.
happy. We should be really happy. We should go, it's nice that we got the run we did because it's not getting better.
They're saying I fell off. You're their favorite streamer now.
Oh.
I mean,
here's what's interesting.
or maybe it will, and God bless.
When I was a kid, I remember reading about like the fall of the Roman Empire and the fall of the Greek Empire, and then I was thinking about America.
No, you read those phrases and you never actually knew what caused it.
Right.
Is that possible? Is it possible?
When he says he read about the fall of the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire, first of all, Greek Empire, at least Byzantine, shouts out to the Turks, 1453, best year of my life. But as far as like he's talking about the Roman Empire, which is like he when he says he read something about it, he means like he watched that white supremacist Stefan Molyneux.
No, he watched Troy. He watched like.
Oh no, I was because he used to write. He did like a very famous like fall of the Roman Empire happened because like they were too woke.
Oh yeah,
or something.
They're like dressed up. That book, The Virtue of Nationalism, who's by like the version like. Who basically says the same things as a lot of these guys in that kind of way, like, but dressed up for like think tank folks. Like his argument is basically the same thing, that it's like cultural softness and not at all about like, you know, challenges of accumulation or, you know, how do we like allocate the vast wealth that we have? And, you know, maybe do we free our slaves? I don't know. Like, I mean, it's very interesting. These guys,
they went woke, dude, and they got
that's
broke.
it. They just went woke. There's no history,
and like
there's
woke,
nothing to be learned.
What's really funny about that also is that they always talk about like wokeness as or moral decay, moral degeneracy. Nationalists love talking about that as though like Romans weren't butt fucking like crazy from the jump. Okay, like they were never not butt fucking. Okay, like anyway, it's always funny to add like the relatively new Christian understanding of homosexuality when discussing you know, wokeness destroying Rome.
Also, it's just like doing the degeneracy card or any of this it's just non sequiturs.
Possible that this is just one. I mean, we want to think it's fucking permanent, but I bet the people of Rome felt the same way.
Of course they did.
This is how it is. This is how I live every day. This is not going to change.
Right.
And Russians know.
They know.
They know.
Their
know
society's collapsed.
They've been through it.
Our society will go down. Nothing will ever be funnier. America will come apart in one of the funniest ways. All of these people, these grifters, everybody circling the wagons, the Caitlyn Jenners, the Donald Trumps. It'll be funny till you'll die laughing. Literally, you'll die, but you will be laughing. It will be the most absurd and insane thing. It will be out of a fucking dystopian horror movie, and no, it won't be funnier than America because we're a crazy country. Full of crazy people, and everybody's just trying to suck the last few dollars out of this bloated pig corpse of an empire before the end. And I'm no different. Watch my special and subscribe to my pod. What am I going to fucking sit here? What am I going to go preach on a fucking mountain? We got to make a little money.
What
here.
am I going to do?
But
Be a
make
decent
no
person?
mistake. I mean, if I'm wrong, and I'd love to be wrong, but if your attitude or your idea is that the population's going to get smarter, healthier, and more adept at problems.
I mean, yeah, he's just like tackling revolutionary optimism by talking about how, I mean, he just has a very nihilistic perspective on things. And I think that justifies his, him engaging in the same like gratuitous capitalist culture of consumption and seeing everything from the framework of content, which I do too. I do too.
It's also though, it's like I agree with him I agree with him and like on the premise that like, yeah, like consumption is just like, that's all we got. That is like the experience that people are, primed to give, and whether it's, travel or eating at restaurants. I mean, like there's a reason that we we've remade the world to accommodate so many tourist economies in spite of the fact that like it's so low paying for, domestic populations. It's just that like, I can't, that consumption thing though, like it's also like because it's expenditure, because it shapes the way people think and act in like, this destructive and like arresting way, to my mind, it also stands to reason that like, well, then it means it makes it that much more meaningful when we resist it ever so goddamn slightly. And instead of just being like, come for me, like I can't vibe with that.
I mean, look, I like comfort. Okay, I like 37 different brands of Oreos made by the same like 6 multinational corporations. But I think that is an adequate mechanism of keeping people docile and keeping people fat and lazy and happy to a certain degree. I think that method of control, if you believe that there needs to be a mechanism of control, that mechanism of control is significantly more adequate and demonstrably more successful, especially when it's paired up with like imperialism and endless bloodshed and constant military dominance worldwide, than a more authoritarian one that says you can't have nice things. I think you kind of see that with China too. Like China kind of took over that. I feel as though China realized, like, you got to give people coffee.
Well, some of it is also, I think, like, in their case, you know, like, looking at, like, the scope of the 20th century, like, you know, something that, like the Americans now, like, we've had, like, my grandma one of my grandparents didn't grow up with running water. However, that is not the case for almost anybody who has parents in America now. In China, it's literally one generation of uplift from, like, you know, like some of the most desperate rural poverty to fucking, like, you know, like making like people who like order, like, I don't know, the Chinese equivalent of Sweetgreen or whatever on their delivery apps and are just as, you know, like degenerate consumers in a capitalist society as we are to a point. And to me, it's sort of like, well, if you view it in perspective, it's like, yeah, Americans, like, as a settler colonial country that has like never had like a real check on its power as it's grown, like, yeah, like it's going to ultimately have the most fucked up and like outsized like relationship with how we manage, you know, our population's own patterns of consumption. Whereas China, it's like, yeah, in the scope of like the last century, they've had to deal with like, you know, what we never frankly had to deal with. So there's, to me, a kind of way where it's like the things that he's describing about how it's like, you know, and he was saying earlier about like, you know, how we used to be this country that, you know, fucked up the world, but we made great movies and all that stuff. It's like, well, there's no, like, you know, like that wasn't good or an optimal path then either, and it's not worth like being nostalgic for it. I guess there's, you know,
I don't even know. I mean, look, I don't know the entirety of Tim Dillon's perspective. I don't even know if he like says that is a good thing. You know what I mean? Maybe he's just saying like all of that was supposed to amount to like, you know, constantly sitting around on our asses and eating grapes. Like,
you said earlier, the nihilism thing is just that it's like, you know, some of it's like it's like a, you know, like I don't think that like I don't think he earnestly believes that it's like tight that everything's going to hell in a handbasket, but it's like,
no, he's joking. I think he's like, I think he's like being a little sarcastic, but who knows?
I'm solving. You're on fucking crack.
Oh, yeah, probably. You're probably right.
Yeah.
Well, what happens next?
I think the irony of like having this conversation though, while talking about like how we have nothing and all we have is like treats, is pretty ironic. But then we are contributing that to that cycle as well.
Well,
like,
no, but like that's, if you view like your contribution to it totally in the term of like, am I like only plugged into like, you know, the discourse machine today? Then it's like, you know, like if that's the standard, then like, sure, yeah, you're playing in the same muck.
Yeah.
However, it's like, if you believe that people can say qualitatively different things and choose to respond to events in that way, then like, you know, I don't think everybody's all equally bad. They're, you know,
no, for sure.
You're just mostly bad, Hassan.
Oh, thank you. What the fuck? Why did I get God damn, I was waiting on a phone call and it was like a 1 second one. What the fuck is that about?
Oh, that's so annoying.
Why did I get a 1 second call? Come on.
Like, do you think we ever descend into some sort of like CCP controlled world? Like that kind of totalitarian government? Do you think it's possible that through technology and just through people just falling apart, getting losing their...
Dude, it'd be so crazy if like, if
everybody had homes and there was no poverty.
No, it'd be so crazy if like America got like a mechanism of control that like monitors your every movement and and literally like denies you adequate care and rations healthcare on the basis of like how much money you have, and also on top of that like decides if there is like an arbitrary number associated with your wealth and how well you can pay off a debt, for example. That arbitrary number is now going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
You won't be able to get a house.
You called the cops once, and you're poor. Whoops, we're gonna take your kids away now.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
It'd be crazy if that happened.
Yeah, it happens in China, but if it happened here, holy shit, dude. I mean, of course, Joe Rogan will never think about that.
Also, if they started throwing everybody in prison, just kind of like, willy-nilly for small offenses.
Oh, yeah. Like drug possession.
Yeah. Or if there was like a crazy plutocracy that just bought up all this real estate and made sure that nobody else could have any.
Yeah, no, that would be wild. Thank God that's not happening in the United States of America.
Freedom.
Yeah. The freest country on earth, which, freedom ain't free, though. That's why we have to house 25% of the incarcerated population of the fucking planet.
That's not just about neutralizing a proletariat or, making sure that...
Or having a steady flow of slave labor, which is, of course, still protected by the Constitution.
Or, it's also we don't make our neighbor countries do that either with, like, the maquiladoras in Mexico, where everybody just makes poverty wages.
Yeah, no, of course not. These are many things to think about. It's not like that.
No, not at all.
Fucking minds thinking it's the right thing to do.
I think what happens next is we'll just have, these giant oscillating swings between right and left. And then I think, eventually it'll get to a point where large areas in the country are unlivable for a myriad of reasons, perhaps crime or homelessness, climate, whatever. Very well off or well connected people will have these kind of enclaves this is already happening. And then there'll be, a fight to be in one of those two groups. And then eventually a dictator, a strong man, somewhere down the line, some man or woman will come in and go, this system's fucked. I am going to run things. And they will run things in a way, and it probably won't be for the best, but like the system will collapse. But I don't know if we'll see it, but it will collapse. There's no way it doesn't. It will collapse to a degree. And someone will come in and go, yeah, these elections are all fake and it doesn't matter anyway. Why do you fuckers need to vote? Here's a coupon for a chicken sandwich. And people go, I like chicken. And then, people just go, fuck it. They don't care. And then you go, there'll be Netflix and there'll be Domino's and you'll sit in your house and they'll say, well, you can't drive today because of the climate. And people go, yeah, it's Tuesday. Can't get in my car because of climate. And you'll sit there and they'll feed you poison and you'll watch TV. And a few people will riot, but very few, because most people will be pacified by the goodies, which they'll still probably have. And, the leader will come on and tell, they'll be like, hello, everyone. And you'll go, hey, there. And it'll be a celebrity. It'll be someone you know. It'll be someone you're very familiar with, and they'll say a couple of things and be like, it's not that bad, is it? And they go, no, it's not that bad. And they'll feed you the propaganda, and you won't remember when you were free, and you won't remember. And most people will be...
But that already has happened, and it's happening, you're also not free. So you should be able to recognize that, but I don't know.
Also, people, by the way, I really loathe, the description of, what happens when, people have to stay home or, not get in their cars to, go out places. It's people are free to draw, read, work out, say hi to their mom. There's a world in which, life as it happens that does not have to exist around, consumption. People do every goddamn day find meaning and, loveliness in their lives and shit. And it's just this is it's funny pessimism, sure, but it's also just not, it's not real. It can't be defended.
Be fine with that, but me and you will be dead. And it won't matter. And we'll have experienced the best of it. We'll remember when you could get in a car without a tracking device. We'll remember when you didn't have a fucking tracking device attached to you at all times. We'll remember when you could say what the fuck you want, alienate people, piss them off, and no one really cared and it didn't matter because you could wake up the next day and say, sorry, I was drunk and it wasn't on fucking Twitter. People didn't have a record of what you did and what you said and where you were and who you fucked and everything else. We will remember true freedom. We're one of the last groups of people to actually be free. And we should all thank God for that, because the hellscape that's about to be created is going to be so bad they won't even know how bad it is. It won't even feel like they're in prison, because those offices we talked about, people, they get to like them. Oh, there's creamer today. French vanilla. It's your favorite. Ugh. It's coming. It's coming, and it's going to be so bad it won't even feel bad. But we'll be like, shit. remember when you could do all those things you can't do anymore. But, you know, and there'll be a few people that remember it, and then they'll take all those books about that shit and burn the fuck out of them. They'll go, well, those aren't good. Racism, homophobia, misogyny, burn, burn, burn. And people will forget when you were free, and they will just kind of create a society based on goodies, little rewards, and
it literally feels like he's describing our current, like, I don't know. It does kind of feel like he's describing our current situation.
Well, that's like part of it is how you know that he's also wrong is that he's just describing the present. Like, there's a very, I mean, part of it is that it's like, also he's just saying that like things are gonna,
I mean, he literally said, remember when you, like, he's like talking about having a tracker on you at all times, and he literally even put his phone up. Like, that's, I mean that's,
well, and I guess the other part of it is the, like, I mean, it's one thing, like, it's part of why, like, you know, if you say that things are, like he says, like, things are going to collapse and we're not going to see it. If you say that collapse is coming, even if you're not going to peg it on a, you know, time frame, like, you got to say what it's going to look like, motherfucker. Otherwise, you're just using, like, words. You're using image.
I guess, like, the contradictions ramped up to its maximum capacity, right? Like, that's it. You're just describing extra capitalism.
Well, and then it's like, okay, if you want to talk about like contradictions mounting, then it's like, you know, there's like, I guess part of it to me is, you know, sort of saying like, well, things are going to happen that we didn't anticipate COVID. And that's part of what's triggered the moment that we're now in with inflation, because it turned out that like having this like weird stop and start with the whole global supply chain threw everything out of whack at a minimum. Like there's a very, I guess, like, you know, we don't know, like these shocks can be understood, and it's not just some like 100-year turning that you have to talk about. Like that's how Steve Bannon talks about politics.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, but it's like if the welfare state has extended or has been the lifeline or a band-aid rather to continue the capitalist organization of the economy at a global scale, especially in the Western world, that the irony now of like the bourgeois state eating itself and defeating its final mechanism of control that allows this entire thing to work, or at least create the presence that it's still working, and avoid inevitable collapse is ironic. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's the one thing that it's like holding this together, and it's not like it's delicate. It's not holding it very well, but at least like that is literally one of the reasons why we're not seeing, you don't see like a peasants' revolution in America. Part of the reason is because like food prices have maintained stability, like
exactly. That's like when people say like, all right, then, well, what does collapse look like? What's scary? And it's like, well, here's scary: energy prices in Europe this winter. That's like, there are things that you can talk about that are specific, that come from like looking at a newspaper and stuff, and that don't come from like doing the thing that he is criticizing, but is in reality just doing, which is like, you know, like, oh, everybody's just going to be doing the little machines, little games, little Candy Crush, etc.
Yeah. The guy's grill pilling Joe Rogan's audience is basically repeating Matt Christman thought, except with some millennial nostalgia for the 90s mixed in.
Addiction to celebrity, where our leaders will all be celebrities who will tell you on closed circuit television how good things are going. And you'll go, good, thanks. That's what's going to happen.
That was one of the best rants I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Well,
Dillion talks about these things more explicitly in his podcast. I think he's dumbing it down for Rogan, but I don't know why.
I think I know why.
I mean, yeah, no. If there is like some genuine criticism of the current state of affairs underneath his examination of the way things are and what he thinks the future will look like, I doubt that it's rooted within like dialectical materialism. I think it's more so just like, it's what you know, when it's all you know. You're guided by, you're motivated and guided by the things you've learned. And it's pretty much impossible to fucking learn that unless you seek it out on your own. So it's going to be, everything is going to be viewed from the framework of like all the contradictions, everything that you experience is going to be seen through the lens of like what you do know, or that's the reason why everything is content. Like everything is analyzed through the framework of consumption, because that's all we know. We don't have any. We're not producing. We're consuming. So that's the reason why a lot of the podcast guys will always revolve every fucking structural critique or analysis around cancel culture.
Because if you are and what you like, it's consumption as expenditure. Like it's like they like consumption as like making it part of your identity, making it define who you are, identifying that how other people consume is who they are and how they are, and just like, embracing the void.
Yeah.
I will.
Didn't he have? I want to see what he had to say with respect to Louis C.K. though. Like I want to know what he said. Oh, he had Louis C.K. on. Holy fuck. He had a bunch of clips come out of it. Being humbled by the nature of ancient civilizations. Louis C.K.'s issue with social media and Twitter. Louis C.K. independently releasing 4th of July. Okay, I can't. We have to see this. Joe Rogan and people that love Joe Rogan will, I think I talked about this earlier. Like, there are people who recognize that corporations engage in PR and like, branding and whitewashing of like horrible people. Like, we saw it best represented in the Andrew Cuomo saga, where like directly people that were involved in like the Time's Up movement were working with Andrew Cuomo on like silencing victims of Andrew Cuomo. And, PR people like the Pete Buttigieg lady, what was her, the flag?
Oh, Liz Smith.
Yeah, Liz Smith was like directly in contact and was like verbatim telling what MSNBC, what talking points were supposed to be. And a lot of people recognize that. A lot of people that are like, fuck mainstream media kind of understand that. And there's a level of skepticism that they have for mainstream media doing that all the time. But they can never apply that. They can never apply that to like the Joe Rogan Experience. For some reason. They can't think that like Joe could be possibly doing a similar thing. Like when he brings Alex Jones on. Or when he has like Louis C.K. on. Say what you want, but Louis C.K. is one of the GOATs of comedy. I first of all, Louis C.K. was very funny. Okay? Very, very funny. But before he got fucking canceled for understandable reasons, because he was like trying to fucking like jerk off to every young female comic that he had ever went on stage with indiscriminately. Okay? Even before then, he had reached the peak of his career. I remember seeing him at what's the place in Inglewood, like the legendary it's like a stadium, I think. Yeah, the Forum. I saw him at the Forum and it was so fucking bad. Like he was so bad. This was before like all this shit popped off. And I was like, God damn, he is like.
So this is your story about how you actually disliked Louis C.K. before he got canceled.
No. I mean, of course, who wasn't a fan of Louis C.K.? I feel like he was like always.
No, I mean Louis. I mean, it was very like. I think it was one of the things that I feel like his was one of the few cancellations where I feel like it caused. Because remember, HBO pulled all of his stuff off the catalog. It was a big thing, and then everybody went back and was like, "All right, how do we really feel about Louis?" And I didn't do that because I don't really watch, and I didn't really watch it the first time around.
Oh, you didn't watch it?
I mean, I watched part of it, but it's. Like,
I always also had like a lot of respect for him because he was like he was like the closest we have to like a psychotic like artist, almost like an auteur who he fucking edited Louis the TV show on a fucking 15-inch MacBook, all on his own, like entirely on his own. So I was like, this dude's crazy. I think it was pretty funny.
I mean, I think he was funny. I think to me the like thing is that it's sort of. To me, what it feels like all this stuff is sort of done is put it in question about like, all right, well, like one, why I guess was the like what the stuff that people found so funny and like his insights and being like an awkward middle-aged guy or whatever. Like his is like the canonical case of like how do people process that somebody who makes this kind of thing is like, it turns out in his private life different from what the art portrays him as or whatever. But yeah,
I mean, half the shit he joked about, he did in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's like kind of that's really fucked up.
I mean, that's like half of all novelists, though.
It's like you want to separate the art from the artist, but like Louis C.K. certainly wasn't. You know what I mean?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Like when you do stand-up, the people who are in the audience have a fucking vote on my act. Like they actually have a direct.
Oh no, leaning into the Warren Jeffs attire, not good. What's up with those glasses, my man? You
Jesus,
can't be
it's like Terry Richardson kind
Yeah,
of.
you can't be doing that, bro. If you got fucking canceled for being a sex pest, you can't come back with a sex pest looking fit. Like, what the fuck? Dude, what the fuck? That's a terrible choice, dude. Like, fucking literally hire like a PR guy or something. What are you doing?
Influence. I give a giant fuck about them. They paid money and they fucking traveled, parked a car, got a babysitter, and they're sitting shoulder to shoulder with strangers listening. So if I see a face that goes, I fucking see it, and it may not change my joke entirely, but there's a gland in me that takes all of that in, and you know what I mean, in the aggregate, and changes. And it's not about their acceptance. Sometimes it's about going to what upsets them and pushing past it, but they're involved. And Louis
is still funny, and he's not canceled to me. Saying sorry and addressing the situation should fucking mean something, dude. And the guy makes rage shit. Wait, what? Bro, there's like things you can say sorry about. You know what I mean? You can be like, yeah, I said some fucked up shit 10 years ago. That's whatever. I did some fucked up shit even. You know what I mean? As long as you like, as long as you have shown, you've made amends, you've shown that you've changed, moved on. But like, like what he did was like a little bit above and beyond. Just
Yeah,
like,
there was a.
he was a whole ass adult cranking off. Everyone gets Mewtwo, goes through a toaster that ages them rapidly. Related, it's why Dane Cook looks like Harvey Weinstein's Charmander. Dane Cook got Me Too'd, but like he literally was like, no, actually, I'm gonna put a ring on it.
Yeah, that one was really. Although the Dillion one is still the GOAT.
Yeah.
Reaction video.
Oh, Chris D'Elia? Oh, yeah, when he's like, Snapchat?
Snapchat? You could save messages?
Yeah, that was crazy. As someone who isn't aware, what did Louis C.K. do? Louis C.K. basically he loved jerking off. It's like a power thing. It's kind of typical, actually, to like Harvey Weinstein's case as well, where like Harvey Weinstein had a fucked up dick. He had gangrene on his cock, so he like didn't really have a dick. But he loved jerking off in front of non-consenting women. And Louis C.K. was doing that as well. He was like, he loved jerking off on phone conversations, but he also loved masturbating. He also, he would flash women and then like make them stay while he jerked off. And the women that he did that to were non-consenting parties, or rather were not really capable of consenting either, because like, they were, young comics that he had brought up with him on stage. You know what I mean? He would like have women open for him and then do that shit.
And there was also like a part of it where his manager, this guy, Dave Becky, there was a lot of stuff about how like journalists and other people who had tried to, say peep about what had happened were suppressed.
Yeah. Oh, for the record, for people who say like, well, he asked about it first. Like, yes, he did ask about it, but you have to also remember that he literally, like, I know I joke a lot about the fucking the problematic age gap discourse that fucking Zoomers love having on the internet, where they're like, oh, you weren't born in the same month as this person in the same year. Like, that's a problematic age gap. But like, the power dynamic in that circumstance absolutely was coercive. Absolutely was coercive. You know what I mean? Like he basically would just like have them come over. He would have these young up and coming female comics over and then fucking, crank it. Under New York City law, where he lived, as literal textbook workplace sexual harassment. Yeah, exactly. It's like your fucking manager being like, hey, come inside. Can I whip my dick out and like jerk it off a little bit? And you're like, I don't know. Okay. That's weird. And then, and then you're like, all right, cool. Boom.
I have to keep that clean, that it's about me and them.
Yeah.
If I read something by somebody who didn't come to the show, who doesn't go to comedy shows, who's reacting to something that was written about a show, a person who wrote it to get clicks, somebody who's professionally disgruntled and says this was a bad show, and then somebody tweets, fuck that guy, and I'm letting that person out.
For the record, he could be right about fucking his attitude. He could, because his cultural critique was like decent, regardless of him being a sex pest.
Yeah,
I will admit. Like his cultural critique was always been like he was always relatively sharp until the forum thing when I saw him there and I was like, damn, this dude sucks now. You know, I hated on Louis C.K. before it was cool, chat. But so he might actually have a sharp take on this that's good, that goes beyond like I've been scorned by the mob.
Right. Well, I mean, like he's not a dumbass, and I think it's like pretty clear that he knows what like he's also, as a guy who has received probably more good press in his life than anybody else. Like in a similar position, like favorable New Yorker profiles and all this stuff. Like he does know that like people are not on the internet necessarily, and even like quote unquote clickbait people are necessarily on the internet to be professionally disgruntled. It feels though like part of what he is what he's responding to, and I imagine is definitely part of his critique now, is that like, yeah, social media makes everybody progress professionally disgruntled, and that's how he's describing this hypothetical about how people respond to his work via Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Weigh the rights of my audience. It's irresponsible. So I don't even think you should. It's not about reading it and then resisting it.
By the way, the people who are saying like cancel culture is real or whatever, like, didn't his album get put up for a fucking Grammy? Yeah, the comedy album that he self-released was put up for a Grammy. I've been meaning to listen to it. I keep forgetting to fucking watch it. Like he personally, because I want to see what he. He
won the Grammy.
He won? No shot.
Of course.
Jesus Christ.
Even be aware of it. You should just stay. Fuck those people. If they're not there,
right,
they're not involved.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that it's also, it'll change the way you do comedy if you take that, if you internalize that shit.
Yeah. If you're picturing the jokes you're telling to this audience, going out into the world, and what are they going to say about it? And again, in a world that it's a sport to get upset.
Yeah.
It's a
like the thing about this as a comedian in the like increasingly online age. He's not wrong about, I can't believe I'm saying this because this is like such a bad look, but he's not wrong. Like the way you make jokes, because I tell my chat this all the time because they get like super fucking bent about comics and like their bits and whatever. And it's like, you have to understand that a lot of people, when they, comedians can only get better by doing by doing one thing, and that's it. And what that one thing is go out and try your material in as many fucking rooms as possible and see and read the room and see how they react to it. There's no other way to develop there's no other way to develop a stand-up set. You just can't do it. You have to go out and participate. And the issue in that situation is that when you are doing that, and some of your bits are going to be bad, especially if you're like diving into tricky territory, which, a lot of good comedians will always do, especially because like that kind of cultural commentary can be very sharp and very funny if he fucking nails it. But if it's bad, if it's off, if the delivery is not there, then it's all of a sudden really fucking bad, because the difference between like, a person not being able to deliver the adequate performance and a person being able to do so is like the difference between someone coming across as racist and someone coming across as very funny. You know what I mean? Context and nuance in that circumstance will greatly change the way that this joke is received. You might say dicey territory. Exactly. Dicey. So, George Carlin says comedy should always punch up, just bullying punch down. Fine. But even if you're punching up, if you don't nail the delivery, it might come across like you're punching down. So basically, if people watch you do that, and they catch you slipping, they catch you testing out a material that's not going to be good, that you never intended to hit like a larger audience, and then they want to cancel you over it, then yeah, you don't understand how the art form works, and you're kind of like bringing it to a much larger audience and using it against people. This isn't just for Louis C.K., obviously, and it certainly does not pertain to Louis C.K.'s like sexual transgressions, his past as a sex pest. I'm specifically talking about comedy in general. So I think his analysis in that circumstance is adequate, even if he is the worst person to deliver that. On the
it's
Joe
a
Rogan
soothing,
Experience.
fun sport, and I have no problem with it. They can play that game together, and that's fine. But if you let it actually change, if you actually take it in,
right,
it's not And they don't mean it. None of these people mean it. It's just a momentary, yeah, fuck him, and then they move on to something else. They're not invested in it.
You said something to me once that I tell people all the time. You said that Twitter's just talk, but it's written down. So it like seems like it's more than just talk, because people always talk. Like,
That's right.
that fucking sucked, or oh, he's a piece of shit.
That's
right.
Right.
They say things like that normally. It's normal, but you're not aware of it.
That's right.
It's a normal thing that
it's
people
even
do.
healthy.
Yeah.
As
Fuck's
talk.
that
This is
guy?
something that my ex-girlfriend who's very close to me still, Blanche Gardin, she's a French comedian. And she's very big in France. She's huge there. And she had a bit that I can't remember. It was in French, and I know, about that Twitter, that there used to be talk. And talk is air. It goes out. People say, that guy fucking sucks. Just to each other.
Right.
And it's gone. They don't have to mean it, But then it's committed to the Library of Congress. And the person who wrote it can't even take it back.
Right.
They're like, I got to stand behind that now.
Yeah.
And then they got to double down on it. And as comedians and entertainers, we're supposed to have these people just yapping about us. Yeah, fuck Joe Rogan. Somebody who's even a fan.
Yeah.
Might just to enjoy his beer for the moment.
Right.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
But then if you showed up there, he'd be like, oh my God, Joe Rogan, I fucking love it. But the fact that comedians are partly responsible because they're on Twitter. And they want to be liked there too.
Yeah.
And they want to be there overseeing the conversations, looking for somebody saying something bad about them and then
Talking about me.
responding. Are you fucking high?
It's
I mean,
crazy.
I do.
It's
there is
it's
something
kinda
he's doing
conflated.
That is like kind of worth noting, which is also that it's like the way he's describing that like people react to and like relate to their relate to Twitter and stuff. Like the two things that just come to mind are the first that like one, I don't think that like. He's saying that like, yeah, this stuff is all written down, but like, as we all know, like content's worthless. Like it's like by its own, like a single tweet like that, you can ignore it, you can promote it, you could go nuts with it. But like, there's so much of it that so little has staying power. The problem is like that it's like made up of the environment. And then the second thing, I guess, is just that like, I don't think that people like, the way he describes how it's like, oh, everybody would be like, oh, hey, Joe Rogan, if they saw him in person. And it's like, that's not true. I've seen people that like I know, from the internet or whatever, I've seen in real life, and who I then or have seen because I know them by reputation. I think they fucking suck, and then I said, "Hey, you fucking suck," or whatever. Like or you just don't have to say hi to them at all, or so on. There's just to me like a kind of like way in which I feel like he's representing these opportunities so that like. There's a not like persecution, because I don't think it's like a persecution complex, but like he is describing this experience of like the difficulty of celebrity in like a live room or something that I don't know, it just feels like it's missing a couple beats in terms of like, well, why is that, and why might people respond that way, etc.
I think that, look, I'm a fan of redemption. Okay, I'm a big fan. And I think that the American draconian understanding of crime and punishment, I think, like has totally made its way into our cultural consciousness and the way we interpret like even daily interactions from that same lens and that same framework. The same reason as to why people are like, oh, if someone has done a crime, like they deserve the death penalty. Yeah. Is like a different version of that exists in our real lives where we just also end up running with the same like punishment. Now you have to understand though, that means like in order for someone to be redeemed though, they also have to like openly showcase that they were wrong, like openly show that they were wrong, try to make amends, you know what I mean? Clean themselves up, become a better human being. And I feel like, I don't know, if people have like quote unquote canceled you, and your return from that cancellation is like self-releasing your stand-up special that ends up winning a Grammy and then going on the Joe Rogan Experience and being like, oh, this is a hit job, then it doesn't seem like you understood. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like you felt like you did anything. Like you don't, if you're not going to take accountability for it, then do you even feel like you did something wrong, or do you feel like you have been wronged, right? And I don't think Louis C.K. did that. I don't think Louis C.K. recognizes that he wronged people and did like some really fucked up things. So, yeah, I don't know. Noah is spot on, is picking up on Louis talking about cancel culture, how to navigate it, why it doesn't matter, is less discourse and more Louis working through now, how he squares what he did with being in public on Rogan. Not talking about cancellation. He's saying, if you think about it like this, Louis, was wrong. Don't call me a victim. Blame Twitter, but you were wrong about me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like, it is really suspicious in general how often like people's takes on cancel culture seem to so often like have a real, like they are, whether, and it doesn't mean that they're the idea or like the take in question would be wrong or something, but like it's pretty clear that that these things are formed directly in relation to whether or not somebody like Louis C.K. was canceled and his experience of it, and not with like, like the first principles of the issue itself. And that to me feels like a really, it's something that, it's like one of these things that feels like part of the kayfabe of cancel culture description or conversations in general. Just that like, oh yeah, like what we all know is that everybody who is like was canceled or is grappling with it, etc., like invariably will form their take on it in relation to their set of experiences. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to like pretend as if this is some gigantic, big, like amazing, fucking School of Athens philosophical debate.
Yeah. He talks about the whole situation in special. I mean, I'll take a look at it, but for the chatter saying like, "Oh, dude, Aziz Ansari handled it really well." It's like, bro, if you're comparing what happened to Aziz Ansari with what Louis C.K. did, I don't know what to tell you. Those two things are in entirely different planets. Okay, like that was a pendulum swing. That was a pendulum swing that went so fucking far that like most people were like, okay, this is ridiculous. This is, this is kind of wild. Okay. Like maybe people should chill out a little bit on it. Okay. And that happens every single time. Dan Harmon is a better example than Aziz Ansari, I think. And even then what Dan Harmon did is not close to the rampant coercive sexual assault that Louis C.K. put young female comics through. Like Aziz Ansari is just a fucking weird, nerdy guy who became fucking famous and went on a date with someone who didn't like the date. That person themselves openly mentioned that they consented to it, and basically, at least the way that Babe article was written, that Babe.com, remember Babe.com?
Babe.net.
Yeah, Babe.net article was written, basically said that it was a bad date, but he should be fucking Me Too'd for it. Okay? And even then, he literally fucking, even then, he still went away for a while. And then he still came back and said, "I'm sorry if my actions were inappropriate. I didn't understand it at the time." And then he moved on. Whereas Louis C.K. is not in that situation. Okay? That girl literally ruined Master of... I mean, who gives a shit if the fucking Master of None was ruined? Calm down.
Yeah, like Spike Jonze shot like Aziz Ansari's comeback. Like there's also, again, it's just like the cancel culture like framework does not match the much more complex reality.
Did you mean Dan Schneider?
No, Dan Schneider's just evil.
What the fuck? What? Dan Schneider? No, Dan Schneider never got... Did anyone even ever cancel Dan Schneider? No,
I think he was... Well, he's now like... I mean, he's now like... Well, he never got canceled. I mean, he's just gone, right?
Yeah, he just left. He did his thing. He made a fuckload of money.
Yeah,
and was incredibly creepy and pedophilic, and allegedly. And yeah, he got to resign quietly and now can just live comfortably for the rest of his fucking life. Yeah, Dan Harmon basically power played a lower level writer in his producer/writer's room. But the reason why I was mentioning Dan Harmon was because this is some real 2017
Yeah, I was
shit.
about to say, this is
like a blast from the past.
Yeah,
we're talking about Me Too, like at the height of Me Too.
This is like 4 or 5 years ago, damn.
Yeah. Babe.net hasn't posted since November 2020. Yeah, I know. It's not surprising. Everyone fucking shit on the article when it first came out. Anyway, yeah, Dan Harmon apologized. Like Dan Harmon apologized, and I think it was like considered one of the most like adequate apologies. Like the victim
he
herself
apologized on a podcast.
Yeah, the victim herself.
I remember people. I mean, it was like I don't think like apologies don't deserve to be gassed up in general, but it was like a good example of also like of like how to do it in a way that draws attention appropriately, but without doing it clearly for the purpose of making the person give it feel better.
Yeah. Dan Schneider did the Janet McCurdy and what's her face stuff. I don't know what the fuck that is. Dan Schneider did like a bunch of child's shows and was very creepy and allegedly pedophilic. Okay, and like ruined an entire generation of child actors who already are like, you know, already getting fucked up.
Things I think Twitter it's not. I don't think that anybody on Twitter means anything they say. I don't believe that any. I don't think a single tweet is really sincere. Folks. It's just a calculation of what's this going to do, and it's based in fear and hope, which are both dumb things. But it's not.
I mean, there's truth to that too, which is a fucked up part. Like, do people? One thing I talk about regularly on this broadcast, maybe it's because I'm so fucking like fed up with internet because I'm so on the internet all the time because I'm so accessible. But one thing I regularly talk about is the narcissism of people who weaponize social justice in a way that like suits their the narcissism of people who weaponize social justice to center the conversation around themselves.
Yes.
People do this all the time for clicks as well on Twitter. People do this in my chat all the fucking time as well. They come into my chat and they're like, "Oh, well, I know you're talking about like a strike right now, but," or one of the most famous examples of this is actually every time I talk about showering, where I tell people to fucking take a shower, there will always be someone who turns around and says, "Oh, I can't believe you're saying that. Like depressed people can't shower, or I can't shower because I'm paralyzed from, you know, the neck down, and what the fuck?" Like, and it's like, okay, well, I wasn't talking about you. Okay, well, that you have your own reasons. Okay, like, oh, asking people to take a shower is ableist, and it's like you only want to center the conversation around yourself, and you're using emancipatory language in an effort to get other people in an otherwise empathetic community to like listen to you and only hyper focus on you in this situation. That in itself is not activism. You're not actually trying to solve a problem. Okay. You're just, you just want to have everybody pay attention to you. And that is narcissistic and it derails the stream. And people do that on Twitter all the time for likes.
Yeah.
Like the pylons and shit. So there's truth to that. But that also comes from a place of powerlessness because it is one of the few places where you actually feel like you can move the needle, something that's larger than yourself, in an increasingly alienated society where we have no power and no mechanism of pushback to change like the structures that oppress us. We have the only thing in our hands is like the immediate response you can get from a corporation that will very easily go, "Oh shit, a lot of people are talking about this and we're a brand. We got to make sure we're a brand, so we're going to respond. What do you want? Okay, sure. We'll fire one of the writers or something." You know what I mean? On a show. And that's not any sort of change. That's not meaningful change. That's what powerless people do. Okay? And I recognize that. So there is truth to that sentiment as well. But the other part of that is because the systems themselves do not actually offer any sort of serious legal recourse, any sort of serious restitution to the victims when it comes to people like Louis C.K. cranking out fucking fat loads to every young female comic that they asked to open for him. Okay? That's why a lot of people are like, "Well, fuck you. What the fuck are you doing?" That's why they try to take matters into their own hands. Okay? It still is from a sense of powerlessness, but that does not necessarily mean that it's always unjust. It's always unjustifiable or bad or wrong. You know what I mean? Harvey Weinstein is a good example of this as well. And Aziz Ansari is a good example in the opposite direction, where sometimes people can, take a pre-existing movement and turn it into their own pet project, their own branding project, like the Time's Up movement. Like almost all of those fucking people that took Me Too and turned it into Time's Up were like themselves fucking sex pests and shit. You know what I mean? Like they literally were doing it because they were like, "Oh, let's turn around and make this our own PR thing." Okay? And we can work with the likes of Andrew Cuomo and whatnot. Anyway, but really, I understand, just like you correctly pointed out, why Louis C.K. is like addressing that, a thing that like most people kind of see and resent from afar in an effort to basically didn't have to
Like,
basically
have you
defend
considered-
himself.
Have you
Sincere
considered
dis-
that what happened to me wasn't wrong?
Yeah.
How we feel.
Right.
So if you give it all that, and comedians that tweet jokes, the same exact format and type, and then tweet a political opinion in the same thing, that's one of the reasons I think folks have started to take jokes seriously, because there are comedians that want to be funny and taken seriously. So they're doing both. So of course people are confused by it. And there's no, and it's not in a club or at least a theater where it's like, comedy is this really, really fun experiment. Just for this one night, we're not going to worry about offending each other. We're not going to worry about what's right or wrong. We're just going to talk shit.
Yeah.
And we're going to go on. And I'm really good at it. I can talk shit like you wouldn't believe. I'm going to astonish you with how much I shouldn't be saying this.
Right.
That's the game. But if you translated it to text and put it out like a statement, like it's a fucking statement from a senator,
yeah,
it's just not going to, other people aren't going to take it right.
Yeah, he's not just good at talking shit. He's good at other stuff too. Let's see what he talks about with the independently
Joe Rogan
releasing 4th of July.
Experience.
That's a true story, by the way, that I tell.
What's wrong or what's right or wrong? Like you're jerking. Yeah. No, it's just jokes, bro. Approach is fine. If it wasn't him trying to use like, it's just jokes, bro, is adequate. If you're just talking about just jokes, it's just not adequate when you're talking about fucking, when you're talking about like what the underlying reason is. No one canceled him over just jokes.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm just talking about Twitter. This is a conversation about Twitter." It's like, subtext is, mighty strong here. I wonder why a man like Louis C.K. might have come to this conclusion about it's just jokes.
Yeah.
Could you think of why?
Yeah.
I can't think of any reason why a guy like that, why it's just jokes may be helpful for him.
Like sometimes it is just jokes, okay? This is not one of those times. No one was like, "Oh man, Louis C." Except for me. I'm the only one who canceled him beforehand because I went to the forum and I was like, "He's no longer funny. He's washed." I'm the only guy, okay? I'm the only one. I'm the only one who canceled him over having not great stand-up that he once did, okay? Losing his finger on the pulse. Anyway.
Well, I have an ex-girlfriend that when we first started dating, we've been together for like a few weeks, and it was like popping off.
is
We
this
love
guy?
each other. Oh my God. And she left her email open, and I searched my name thinking I would find all these great things she's saying about me behind my back.
stupid.
It was really
Fucking doubt that. That's a doubtful reason, but Joe List? Another comedian? Okay.
bad. And there was like a chat, like a Gmail chat between her and her best friend. And she literally was like, "I just met this guy. I think I'm in love with him. He's the funniest guy I've ever met. I'm not attracted to him, but I'm going to give it a shot." And I just read it. And then she comes home a few hours later and it's like, "Hey," and I'm like,
Oh,
"Hey."
that's hard.
And it's brutal. It still lingers, by the way.
Was that
pain
the
from
end of
that?
it?
Because I couldn't, first of
Joe
all, I was like in love with her,
You know who that is?
and it wasn't a confidence.
There was a Cometown bit for a while about Cruz and Joe List. And so I literally only know about him because Nick had a really funny joke about Cruz and Joe List.
I have no idea who this is.
He's just a comedian.
I don't know if he's good or not.
Boost. I was like, I can't go be single now knowing I'm ugly. But it's like, the person who loved me the most in the world behind my back described me as unattractive.
Horrible.
I mean, yeah, you kind of get what you deserve in that front. Like if you're just going through that, dude, that sometimes it's best not to let curiosity take hold. You know what I mean? It's just don't give in to that, brother. You just stay strong, okay? If you're in the chat right now and that's like an opportunity you saw, don't do it. It's never good. Joe List is the only guy in the room who I stand harder than the CK List is really on OD the Goats. He has a pod with Mark Norman. Okay, bro, this guy literally loves Louis CK and Joe. He's like,
It's like
fucking
it's a really great day to tap in.
yeah. No, he's like, dude, please, fucking dude, you don't say anything bad about this.
It's horrible. That's why I'm behind this mic as much as I can be right now. I'm hideous. It's horrible.
That's why we had an easy time writing the movie too, because he has these stories. So he would just tell me stuff like that. And I know from experience what's going to work in a script. I've written them before. I've directed them before. So he would just tell me that, and I'm like, it's going in. That's got to be in here.
We had to change the names, of course.
It changed the names.
Of course.
But
And so you're releasing it only on your website?
Yeah.
You're not going to put it out anywhere else afterwards?
I mean, we'll see, but right now the best mouth to drink in the interest is the website. It just comes right to us.
We did a big theatrical
it
run
was
also,
in the
though.
theaters for
did very well.
Yeah, for a month, and it was killing.
Really?
Yeah, it was like AMC theaters and Regal and a few theaters. What they do if they don't give you a full run, they just go, you can have every city for one night. Like at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday, we were in 70 screens across the country.
Wow.
And they all sold out and doubled. We were in a lot of cities. We were like in 3 theaters.
I'm low-key surprised that Netflix won't buy this. Like, why not? They literally, like, they love Dave Chappelle. I mean, not that, like, Dave Chappelle's transphobia is, like, entirely different, but...
I mean, it does. It's also it does show. I think he's also, before he was ever canceled, it should be remembered. Like, Louis C.K. was self-releasing and selling stuff. Like, he made and produced his own show, Horace and Pete, and like they only did one series of it. And I think in his case, it's sort of like he's already had this infrastructure and all this, and I imagine he's one of the few people for whom like doing this kind of independent route actually is way better. Like, it ends up making more sense.
Wait, sorry. Someone in the chat said, you may have hit the nail on the head. Lewis is a trans ally. They're like, oh, dude, we heard your stand-up bit about HRT, and I'm sorry, that's not the direction we're going for here at Netflix.
Netflix, we're having, we need new ideas. We're having problems here. Go. First idea. No idea is a bad one. Louis C.K. stand-up special?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I feel like that's on brand for Netflix. You know what I mean? But I guess.
What? So, producing things people will love?
Yeah. Having good opinions. Having the right opinion.
Yeah. Getting the right tastemakers in here.
Giving like $200 million to an old dude who just won't shut the fuck up about how trans people suck. Like the worst.
Yeah, it's like when
Thor
Netflix does their specials that Dave Chappelle does, when they come in, do you think that they're like, like waiting, like, fuck, please hope it doesn't talk about trans people again. Just hope it's not.
Of course, I feel that way. Like, I was a huge Dave Chappelle fan, man.
At this point, I've like assumed there's Chappelle 1 and Chappelle 2 in my mind, and Chappelle 1 is not.
I still like. I have seen him test new material out at the Belly Room, like, and I went, and this was right after his stand-up special, like the last one. And I went there thinking, okay, like, this has to be all new material. So, like, let's see if he switches direction. Like, let's see if he actually... And it's going to be his worst because it's, like, right after a special. So, obviously, it's all new material. And I thought, like, please, I hope that he's going to not talk about, like, trans people. And he just got fucking hammered and was just smoking lung darts, screeching about fucking trans teenagers, dude, nonstop. It was so brutal. It was like, ugh. It was like that kind of disdain. You really went to a special? No, not even a special. It's worse than that. Fucking the Belly Room, I said. Which is
Dave was testing out new material.
Yeah, where he's like testing out new material, and it was like. It was just like so sad to see this dude. So sad to see this dude just rant about trans teenagers. Like, he was so hurt by the school. Like, when he went back to his school, and I guess like the queer teenagers at the fucking art school that he the art high school that he went to. You know what I mean? Were like, why the fuck are you doing this? You know, and they were very upset. And I think that he has a really, really high sense of himself, right? He thinks that he is like, doing something that is righteous. Like, I think he truly believes that in his mind he is doing he's following a righteous cause by like sticking it to the LGBT community who's had it far too good for far too long. And some of that resentment or some of that frustration comes from being a black man who feels cast aside by the same crowds, the same, like you. Wait, me? Yeah, exactly like me. That's why I'm super transphobic and homophobic. So some of that comes from the anger and resentment of being like a straight black man who is still very much, no matter which circle you fucking go to, even in like liberal woke circles, like still considered to be like the natural enemy, right? Even so, even leftist people, or not leftist people, like even progressive circles have a way of reinstituting the angry black man trope over and over again. And like the language that they use is different to describe it. Black men are homophobic. Black men are transphobic. Black men are bigoted. Black men are angry and violent, right? And they're causing so much harm to even other black people. And that's a very real piece of anger that you can have and hold on to. But his analysis, of course, does not feature intersectionality in any meaningful capacity. So he just like, it has turned into something that is completely unfounded and ridiculous.
Well, that's what the fact that it's like not connected, like that it's, you know, again, it's not dissimilar to like, you know, how like, for, you know, we were talking about Tim Dillon earlier and sort of the way that like he'll describe like social ills and things like that, because it ends up being just this like, I mean, it's not really like a, this thing that he hates and that is bad. It's just disconnected. It doesn't have a cause. There's nothing to, you know, is no one, you know, it's like, it's not worth being critically engaged with or having inquiry or curiosity or any of it. It's just a thing that's alien and foreign and it doesn't compute. And I mean, evidently he can't stop fucking yelling about it.
Yeah.